Hello everyone, I'm Julie Heinrich, Marketing New Business Development Manager for CTSI, here with you on another beautiful day for our YouTube series, All About It, or All About IT. It's really however you want to look at it. And I am so honored and excited to be joined by our very own Vice President of Services, Brian Alley. He is also one of the owners of CTSI and has quite an interesting story as far as how he started and where we are today. So Brian, welcome to the series.
Excited to be here. Glad to get to talk to everybody.
Awesome. Well, okay, so tell me all about how you started, like where your role is now and kind of how you started CTSI.
I started as an intern basically. I went to Texas Tech, got a degree in IT from Texas Tech, and basically CTSI needed some help doing deliveries basically. I'd never really planned on working at CTSI. I interviewed with our now president, and he said, come up and let's talk and see what we can do, and got into it. And it's like, oh, this is it. This is where I need to be. This is the job I want to be in. I had internships in the accounting world and programming world, and that really wasn't the right fit for me. And getting to go out and talk to people and solve computer problems and IT problems, it's like, yep, this is where I need to be. So I've just loved it ever since I've been here. So.
And then also, for those of you who don't know, Brian's dad was actually one of the co-founders of CTSI. So what was that like growing up with?
Well, it was fun just being around. Like I said, I'd never planned on working at CTSI. I had kind of grown up around computers. I remember for the folks way back in the day, our first computer was an Apple IIe, so it had the floppy disks. So some of you might remember those. We now have new folks that come into the company, and they've never actually seen a floppy disk, so that's always fun to kind of, it's like, no, I can remember when the disks were actually floppy way back in the day. So kind of just grew up around IT, had never really planned on working at CTSI, and just kind of almost fell into it and realized, oh, this is a blast, this is a lot of fun. You're getting to talk to people, interact with people, you're getting to solve problems. I always kind of tell people when I'm talking to them about the position, it's a great spot if you want to help people and serve people. So that's one of the things I really love about it. So we're solving problems and hopefully making people's day better at the end of the day than it was at the start of the day. So.
Yeah, I love that. Mm-hmm. So do you have any funny stories or anything that you remember from those days, the early days?
Yeah, I can remember Dad bringing home, I don't know if you remember on the printer paper where it used to be on like tractor feed where it would print out and it'd go line by line by line. So I can remember him bringing that back to the house and reviewing what I'm assuming was like billing invoices that were about to go out. So, and he'd have big stacks of paper that he was going through line by line. I'm guessing cleaning up typos and making sure the invoices were right going out. It's more about the people that I remember from way back in the day. I can remember there was a CTSI softball team at one point, and we had a team, and someone blew out a knee, and so I think that was the 1 year of the CTSI softball team, because we're just not as athletic as we used to be, I guess, back in the day. I remember stories about the other co-founder, David Baucom, one of his kiddos maybe sticking their head through some grating on the 5th floor.
Yes,
and so now there's plexiglass so that my kids won't stick their head through the plexiglass frame on the floor there. So it's more about the people and that kind of stuff. There's some folks that I can remember being a teenager, they're still at CTSI and calling up trying to get a hold of Dad for something and talking to those folks and kind of getting to see them every day now at the office is a lot of fun. So it's more about the people at the end of the day. That's kind of just in CTSI in general. I tell folks that we're a service-based company that just happens to be good at IT, and I think a lot of that revolves around just good relationships, both with our folks that we work with day to day and with our clients at the end of the day. It's all about relationships and getting to know folks. It's a lot of fun. I've been with CTSI since 2003, I think is when I started. So it's been fun. I started and wasn't married, didn't have kiddos or anything like that, and so kind of seeing folks where now they're going, oh, well, how are the kids, and getting to catch up with folks that I've gotten to know for 25 years almost at this point now. So just kind of, it's all about the relationships at the end of the day is what it is.
I mean, I definitely agree. That was something that I noticed, whenever I first started, and it still to this day, but very much felt family and kind of like it started as a family pretty much, and it's just continued to grow. And so I love hearing that, and that was a big reason why I wanted you to join me today. Was just kind of get your take, because you've seen it pretty much from the ground up, and as far as from your standpoint, has it really changed? I mean, obviously we've evolved and we're doing more than what we started, but from the core of it,
it really hasn't. It's at the end of the day, family comes first. I can remember, Dad and David when they started. I don't remember my dad missing any childhood basketball games or anything. Like he would cut out in the middle of the day and go watch a game. So it's family at the end of the day. It's like if you've got something family going on, yeah, absolutely go take care of the family thing. That's at the end of the day, that's way more important than anything we're going to do at the office. So we want to take care of our clients, but since that's one of the advantages of having us as a team, we can pick up for each other if somebody's got something going on. I remember Dad and David kind of doing things for folks that were having health issues going on, and it's like, hey, go get that figured out. My brother had cancer when he was 11, so Dad was, I'm sure, out for a ton of stuff, going to help with cancer treatments and check up on that stuff. So at the end of the day, it's all about family and taking care of each other and treating people the way we want to be treated. So
yeah. Well, so kind of shifting a little bit of gears, but so from, I'm sure you've seen so many changes just from the IT industry, technology, and with you being part of services, you're a lot more deeply ingrained in that. So, has there been one that you think has been the biggest disruptor?
Well, I think you kind of think of, in my mind, the three big ones. Cloud was a big one, and then security as well is a current and forefront one. I think AI is probably the next big kind of world changer or game changer. It's really on the quality of the data that you're putting into those AI systems, and kind of building structure and control around those. Because I always kind of use the example when I'm talking with folks. If you put your stuff into an LLM, you want to make sure you've controlled who has access to that data. So you don't want to put your payroll data into an AI system and ask it analysis and, hey, tell me, are my rates, am I paying people the right rate? Because then basically that becomes a part of that model. So you want to control how that data is accessed, and you don't want someone that doesn't need access to that payroll data to be able to say, hey, how much is Brian making or Julie making or whoever it may be. So we want to kind of control and put in safeguards to make sure only the appropriate people can see the data that you use in that AI system. But it really has the potential to really change the game where you're a lot more efficient. You can do analysis and compare data. With us being a part of the new charter, we're starting to look at ways of, hey, can we look at all the other operating companies and say, hey, Company A solves this type problem, 30% faster than CTSI is, or CTSI is the front runner in solving this other type of problem faster than other companies are. So what is it that the faster company is doing to be able to take care of their customer more efficiently, be able to solve those problems for our customers, just in an effective and efficient manner at the end of the day. So kind of using that to kind of figure out who's got the best process in the game, and kind of what can we do to maximize that so that people get taken care of faster. So.
Yeah. One thing that I've always felt and I've always loved about the approach that CTSI has taken is that we do appreciate the advancements in technology, but we also understand the risks too. Yep. And there's kind of a double-sided coin, if you will, as far as making sure, like you were saying with AI, like making sure that yes, we can still use this, but use it appropriately and make sure that the access is correct.
Absolutely.
And I feel like we do that across the board. And that's one thing. I don't get asked a lot about technology, thankfully, because I don't do much of the technical piece. Yeah. But I do tell people, like, it's one of those things, like, use it, but make sure you understand how you're using it. Yep. I don't even do software updates until I know, like, are we okay?
Let us take care of that for you. The technical guys can take care of that for you.
Yep. So what would you say, from your standpoint, from being on the services side and owner and everything, what's the benefit of having a partner like CTSI?
Well, it's, this is what we live and breathe day to day. So much like, I think you're a lot more efficient when you're needing your taxes done. You're working with a CPA or a lawyer. You can represent yourself in court if you wanted to, but you want somebody that lives and breathes that. That's what they've spent their career learning and getting better at, and finding ways to utilize the systems that are out there. So much in those same manners, you need to kind of lean on the folks that live and breathe this, and this is what we do for fun too. From a technical nerdy standpoint, I'm listening to AI podcasts as I drove over here to tape this. MSPs in general, we're in peer groups so that we can kind of trade best practices with, hey, this is working, this isn't working. So every which way you can think about it, we're delving into this. So much in the same way, if when I have a CPA do my taxes, they're living and breathing that. They're going to know what's right, what's wrong, what's a good way to do something, what's not a good way to do something. So we're in the same boat from an IT perspective. Hey, this is something you want to do. this other option might be something you absolutely don't want to do. And when you hire CTSI, that's something that we can advise folks on and kind of help present, different options. That's one of the things I'm always big on when we're talking to potential new clients or a project that we're putting out there, that there's a choice and either one is fine. It's like, hey, let's give our client both choices. Let's build that out and say, okay, here's option A and here's the good and bad of option A, and here's option B, and here's the good and bad of option B, and help them make the most educated decision. Because at the end of the day, they know their business the best, but we can really advise and provide good counsel on what's the right path to take from an IT perspective. And that's what we do all day. So, I wouldn't want someone to try and delve into some of these topics from an IT perspective if they weren't really in it and understanding the implications of what they're doing or not doing or deciding to do or not deciding to do.
Yeah.
So.
No, absolutely, I agree. So I guess you've kind of talked a little bit about it, but what do you think separates us? Like, what makes us unique? Because there are a lot of organizations that do what we do, and it's across the board and across the country, but what would be a differentiator for CTSI?
I really think it's our people, going back to kind of what we were talking about initially. One thing that I think for the most part, like you said, you can find an IT person that can, fix whatever, but it's the people that, when we're hiring folks, we really look for people that are both humble, hungry, and smart. So when you find all three of those, you really find somebody that kind of really sets us apart from somebody that's just, I can do whatever for you from an IT perspective. So we want folks that can be empathetic, can kind of almost put themselves in the shoes of the client, going, hey, I understand why this is a big deal to you, and you might be calling in, if you're trying to run payroll today and your accounting system's having problems, that's a big deal in your business. So our folks really have a good ability to put themselves in the client's shoes and kind of say, hey, I've got this, I'm going to own it, we'll see it through to fruition and get this solved, and I understand why this is a big deal. So you can go out and find anybody, I think, for the most part, that can try and solve that problem for you, but putting somebody that can communicate and solve the problem and empathize with why it's a big deal is one thing that really differentiates us, I think, from our clients or from our competitors. So
yeah, well, and honestly, I think that started at the very beginning with your dad and David, and they kind of instilled those values and that mission that we still continue to live every day. So did you have anything else that you wanted to say, any
trying to think
advice for our viewers?
No, it's been a lot of fun, starting back in 1985, so to 2025. It's been interesting. I was thinking about this, kind of getting ready. I can remember when it was kind of a big deal. Mom kind of mentioning that she was nervous that there were 10 families that depended on CTSI to put food on the table, basically. So there's 10 families, and that was when we had 10 employees. So now we're at the point where I think we're 60 plus. So, you kind of magnify that. It's like, oh man, there's a lot of families. So at the end of the day, integrity is something that has no value. It's like, I always tell folks in kind of our new hire and orientation that, the integrity aspect is kind of instrumental. So if your integrity, if you would sell it for $1 or $1 million, if there's a line there, did you ever really have any to begin with? So that's something I'm big on. It's it's like, you got to have integrity at the end of the day. We for lack of a better word, try to eat our own dog food. So if if we're going to recommend a solution to a client or sell something to a client, it's something we've put through kind of our processes internally, and 9 times out of 10 we're using that internally, that same tool, like our backup solution that we recommend to our clients. That's what we use to back up our stuff. So we want to make sure that we're living out what we're preaching to our clients at the end of the day. So that's the main thing that I always kind of want to drive home, is that we've got a lot of families that are dependent on kind of us doing the right thing because it's the right thing, and not just out there to make a sale or push some product or anything like that. That's this is stuff that we do on our own internal stuff, and we want to roll with it, and it's the right solution because that's what we're using on our stuff. So we wouldn't recommend it to them if we wouldn't use it on our own stuff. So
yeah. No, absolutely. So can't thank you enough for being here and kind of talking through, and I loved hearing just the history and just like your viewpoint from how CTSI started to where it is now and to where it's going. I will say I've been I've loved working with you over the years, and Brian's very patient because I'll message him like, this isn't working, I don't know what to do, and he's wonderful to work with, very knowledgeable and very patient, and just been a great experience.
Yeah.
So I look forward to many more years as long as y'all have me.
That's the same. As long as you'll stay around, we'll have you. So,
all right.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you all again for joining us today, and thank you, Brian, for being here. As always, if you have any questions or anything that you want us to talk about, feel free to leave it in the comments, or you can email us, reach out to us. But with that is all we've got for this week. And I'm Julie Heinrich. I'm all about it. See you next time.